See what I'm saying? No matter what I say, it's going to be the police chief says.
Right on.
You know what I mean?
Because I wouldn't want to lie and say the police chief said it if you didn't say it. Right? I try to have integrity.
Looks like you got a haircut, bud. You look all cleaned up.
Yeah, I take about a week to cut my hair. I start munching it, and then I go out in public, and it's only halfway done.
I do mine every day.
Did you talk to Lieutenant Rich about that? I mean, does that sound like I was quoting Lieutenant Rich with the words? Did you hear the words I was saying that were his words?
I don't know, because Rich told me that since it's an employee issue, we haven't talked to him yet. That all he said was he owned that he was wrong. So we didn't go into detail. So,
okay. Did you hear what I was saying there? Did I articulate it where you were able to hear it?
Fair, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't. I hope you respect. I don't like talking about something if I haven't addressed it with the individual yet.
Okay, that's fair.
You
Yeah.
know, I just don't think it's fair.
I'll try and back off now that I understand.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Because I don't think it's fair to the employees if I'm telling other people what I think before I tell them that.
Yep. Can you answer if you looked at the body cam video?
Yes.
You have looked at it? Okay.
Yeah, and then once the person comes back in the office, then we'll address it.
Do you think, if it's true that the sergeant was hostile, threatening, do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not going to bite.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I haven't dealt with it yet.
Okay.
You know, and I just
Fair
don't
enough.
think it's. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you. In
No,
any
I
way,
understand.
shape, or
I
form.
understand.
I just don't. I think I owe it to our employees to deal with them first before I comment on them. You know.
Was I legal flipping the bird tonight?
I think it's. I didn't even see you doing it.
I was flipping the bird at Skylar and then later at Rose. Does that sound legal?
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
Okay.
Do I agree with it? Probably not. But is it legal?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. That's what I'm.
Because I tend to deal with things a little bit differently than that.
In what way? More de-escalation like? I get some of that impression. I think sometimes you're in a hard spot where de-escalation gets really tough. It happens for most people that are in significantly powerful positions. Everybody's got a boss to answer to, and sometimes they're tyrannical type bosses, and if you want to keep your job, you got to compromise to the tyranny to an extent.
Well,
I think the stance he made tonight is a disgrace. The fact that he apologized to you was righteous, because if you all do get a bunch of public records requests and stuff, he's definitely going to be the one to blame for that. But that isn't my plans. I do plan to go out and protest. That's what I told him. And I looked up the difference between the F word and the a-hole word and the bird. And the rating generally seems to be that the bird is the least of the ones that are offensive, least offensive.
Well,
and short-lived.
And I think you do enough homework too that the interpretation by some of the court systems is kind of, it's weird, because you can find interpretations that are on both sides of the issue, as you know. I mean,
I find conflict between state law and federal law as well. That things that are going to, things where y'all would. One of the things is like disorderly conduct. I know you can't talk about it in detail, but I can probably listen a little bit. The disorderly conduct that you all are quoting, from what I understand, and I'm wrong a good enough amount, is that you all would lose certainly on appeal, if not before then. I may lose on first round, but on appeal you all would lose, because when it's not accompanied with other action, because there's such strong case law, and I gave him some of the case law where if you're just flipping off the bird and you're not following someone or flipping them off with threats and aggressions. I was clearly that day just standing there flipping off the police, and I gave that case law to Lieutenant. Also, citizen misinterpretation of who's getting flipped off there doesn't play a role in it. And the lieutenant in Green Township, he's already verified all that with me on phone. So I just need Delhi Police to. Here's the thing: if y'all, and to the sergeant's credit, because I think there's credit to be given as well. He did not arrest me, and he didn't. I wanted the ticket. I don't know if you saw I was asking for the ticket. He didn't arrest me, but he threatened me with the arrest. And if y'all arrest me, even if I win, I lose. And that's the thing from y'all, is it's a powerful tool y'all have to punish someone through the process with near zero accountability, while I can win and I still lose. Just like happened with Oak Hills. I took days after days, I don't know, I think I was down there 4 days or something, driving, my gas, my time to go and improve my innocence. I think I threw him off the case when he was there and he wanted continuance. I said, no, I don't agree with the continuance. I threw him off. But
and I think the trouble is Rich, is I think, as you know, and maybe you do or don't, I think, you know, a lot of the way that case law and statutory law is written, it bears a lot to interpretation, you know what I mean? And that's where, you know, it's my job and my responsibility to make sure that our people are doing the right things, and I take that very seriously. And I think you know I do. And
well, I question it sometimes.
Okay.
When you told me that you still think I was committing a crime, and it doesn't seem to fit to me, that's what brings in the question. But
it's fine, and that's where I think our relationship is good, because we're okay with disagreeing with each other, and I'm fine with that, you know. But the reality is you know, it's I take the actions by our people very seriously, and I look at everything, and I think you've heard me say it before. I think if somebody's wrong, I tell you they're wrong. If there's something in a gray area where you and I might disagree, then we'll respectfully disagree with each other, and I'm okay with that.
You know, there's been cars, not in Delhi, but in Ohio, that have FU spelled out, written all around their car. And
we used to have one around here.
And that's gone to courts, and it upholds that they have that right. The other thing is, I watched a video recently, and this wasn't 6th District or Circuit or whatever. It wasn't our area. But the guy holds up a sign that all spelled out, F cancer. 5 calls to the PD with complaints. Supposedly same time frame, same location, similar traffic pattern, changes cancer to the police.
Yeah.
Calls doubled, nearly tripled.
Yeah.
And that goes to show it goes to suggest, it ain't conclusive, those small numbers, but that it's not just the word, it's the content of who it's directed at. And see, when you say F cancer, some of our most protected speech is political speech. And when I'm saying F the police or Scholar Miller this, and as a township administrator, that's political speech. And here's a big difference. When I say F the PD, it can seem like a personal attack, and I think some of your officers take it personal. And there's some of that in there, but the reality is, at the most granular level, if I'm bad-mouthing you, I'm bad-mouthing Chief Jeff. I'm not bad-mouthing human being. I'm not bad-mouthing civilian, husband, family leader, none of that. When he calls me an asshole, he's attacking my personal character. That's why FU is generally shortly lived and forgotten. But personal insults like that, when he calls me an a-hole, as I interpret it, that has a lasting psyche impact on people.
I think it goes, Rich, and you know I've talked about this before. I think that what I like about you, I mean, there's a lot of things I like about you, by the way, is that when you're wrong, you admit you're wrong. I like that. You know, do I wish from person to person? You know, I know I said before that I can't give you my opinion, which is true, but I think your message would go further if you didn't do those kind of things. You know, like flipping people off and calling somebody a-hole in the middle of all these older people. That's going to bother people, as you know. And that's probably part of your purpose.
One of the things of FU, the messages of the FU, as defined, is that you're shutting off. This is some people's perception, that you're shutting off that dialogue, that you've escalated to the point beyond where it can even be reconciled. And so when I'm in that environment, that ain't me saying that, but I agree to it to an extent, that I already tried to go and talk to Skylar. I didn't like his response. And sometimes this gets a little bit more far-fetched, but if I'm over here saying a bunch of bad stuff about Chief Jeff, and then I come over and talk to you like normal, you may pick up a bad vibe even though you're not getting it directly. So when I talked to Skylar that day and I didn't like the response, it might have been some of that a-hole stuff that he's saying about me that I didn't hear directly. But now keep in mind, this is the second time I think I caught him calling me a-hole. He denied it last time and I only had lip reading to call it on. This time he can't deny it. And he has no shame in it. There's no wrong in it. So now he set a standard just like your officer with the FU2. So if we look at that, I think, did you read that part of my email?
Yeah.
PD says FU2, no crime. He calls me a-hole, no crime.
Oh, trust me, I didn't like that either.
All that stuff.
Didn't like
Well,
it.
you know, I recommended him for accommodation.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
Did anything end up happening to him? You just talked to him or anything in the file?
I think what happened was, I think Lieutenant Schmaltz looked at everything and determined that it was a contextual conversation with you and not necessarily saying it to
Okay.
you. It was a more of a repetitive thing.
Because you know I didn't make any official complaint.
Oh, I know.
I mentioned
Oh, I
some
still
things
don't.
and I said I trust y'all
Whether
to
you
do
do or
it.
don't, I still hold them accountable.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I just don't. I just don't like that. I just don't. You know, it's just one of those things where, you know, it's. I don't know. I think that, and I don't know if you understand. You probably do. Is that in society, if you're doing those kind of antics, you know, cussing at people or flipping them off, you're going to bother a certain sector of the public. You know. You know, whether it's not me. You can say whatever you want to me. I don't.
But that's one-sided. You know that, right?
No. I'm just saying.
I mean that there's a
No.
sector of the society that's going to give you a thumbs up. The guy saying that did the F cancer and then the F
Sure.
police. There are people giving them thumbs up on those messages. And the reason he went there is because he got good word about the chief there, that they had a good PD. He ended up going in and talking to the chief. At the end of the video, they're laughing at the people calling in because they recognize his right to do what he was doing. I would gamble some money if it's legal that your folks are bad-mouthing me to citizens, and then the citizens, as they drive by, this part can't be disputed because I got some of it on camera, I know it's true, and then they bad-mouth me. Some of them are flipping me off, some of them are giving me the dirty looks, all those things, and I think part of that's being inspired by your PD. And I just talked to these two ladies tonight, and just based on me flipping them off, and I think they saw the sign that day because they know about it somehow, and they'd already judged me without knowing anything else about it. Now, it don't seem like it, you know, you don't seem like
Are you surprised by that?
no, but I think I label them as Karens in essence. I think it's the problem with society is that it's just like Trustee Rose did, going to make judgment without getting both sides of the story first. You heard me stand up here, you may have heard it, the prior meeting, and I made my case that y'all are breaking law on this handicap parking. I even emailed you. You cannot enforce it, but you can't give them permission. And on the state level, it seems I'm wrong on that, and I need to admit that, and that is difficult because I hate other people to say, "Oh, he's wrong on that, so he's wrong on everything," because I'm not wrong on everything law related. Your own Lieutenant Meyer admitted that you were out of compliance on the ADA stuff.
I don't. I've never contended you're always wrong.
No, I mean just public perception.
Yeah. But you know, the fact of the matter is it's you know, is everybody perfect? No. Is somebody gonna make a mistake every once? Sure. Do I make mistakes? I do. I think it was like in first grade or something, but I'm just kidding. You know, but it's one of those things where anytime you're dealing with human beings, I mean, they're not flawless. You know, that's why we have supervisors. That's why we have policies. That's why we have laws. That's why we have, you know. But sometimes the system, you know, and you heard me mention about the way some of these laws are written. I mean, some of the way that they make them so confusing that it's hard. Some of them are hard to enforce.
I told these ladies, I mean, I believe what Lieutenant Rich said, and even worse with regard to the sergeant's behavior. I did feel threatened that day. I even took a step back, put my arm out if you saw that part. And they didn't care about that. That's a real issue. That's not something where, if I heard that happening to someone else, I'm on the side of that's wrong every time, and I think you're going to be on that side when you sign the paper saying some of that. I don't know if you go as far as threatening or all that, but I think you'd agree with some of what Lieutenant Rich said. Can you tell me, I think the last complaint I made that y'all declined or whatever, Lieutenant Meyer was involved as well. Would Lieutenant Meyer have been involved in this one as well?
Well, it goes through the channel, so yeah. So what happens is because when I was the assistant chief, and I passed on to Chief Jim, you know, there's a slot in the form that's there still. So he's the administrative lieutenant, so he refused it after, like if Lieutenant Rich sent something through, or Lieutenant Macaluso sends something through, Lieutenant Meyer reviews it before it comes to me.
Okay. So most likely if Lieutenant Rich told me it's on your desk, there's a decent chance that it passed by Lieutenant Meyer's desk
Yes.
already? Okay.
And he'll, you know, and I've already seen it, so it's, I mean, and everybody's commented on it. It's just one of those things where it's not a sealed bill yet because I haven't dealt with the employee.
Understandable.
I think that's, I mean, it's an honor thing for me. I can't, you know, I'm not, obviously I'm not afraid to admit when it happens.
Did you hear the handicap solution?
As far as
What I'm understanding is going to
put
happen
the bags over
forward,
the signs.
and then leave one or two spots open for handicap.
Yeah, because there was.
I mean, that's like a no-brainer, great solution, I thought.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And it's what, extra 10 minutes work, couple bags,
It's perception, you know.
and in every one, who knows? Maybe there's never a disabled to want to park there. But if it's a 1 in a million, 1 in 100, 1 in 10, if I can perceive it, it can happen. And
Perception's reality sometimes, right?
yeah, there's some of that. But you know, now how can a side take a stance to not do those things where he's in the public square after making a whole statement on the public record, the body cam public record? How can they have integrity? It's different when y'all lose integrity and when I lose integrity. I mean, you would agree with that, right?
Oh, if I lose integrity, it's huge.
Anybody in this room on this side of the fence other than me, if I lose integrity, I mean, it doesn't have the ripple effect of you all.
Correct. I would agree with that.
And
We serve the public, so we're expected to have integrity.
I think you would agree that in those situations that using that kind of asshole language is inappropriate and can escalate the situation in a bad way. But I think you're right, I think you're right in some regard on that isn't always the productive way to get things done. But there's a second argument to be made that had I not done that, there's risk that Davis wouldn't have given me the ear he gave me, that Lieutenant Rich wouldn't have given me his ear, that the sergeant wouldn't have been exposed for what he's being exposed as having done, and that this guy's making decisions against me, my freedoms, my rights, in part with advice from you all, because I guess the sergeant backed him up on that, but he's clearly not an unbiased candidate. He's not in a neutral position when he's already prejudged me to be asshole. And the two places I was, well, I wanted to go in all that way. I guess it burned some time while we wait for the meeting to close, but you know, how could I, sometimes we have our own shortcomings, right? And so it's the leaders that we have less tolerance for on shortcomings. And it's in part why we have civilian backup systems to help account and keep accountability in government. There's a lot of people in this world, in this country, that are feeling hopeless with government. And the shit hasn't really even hit the fan yet. And they don't see things. They hear this, like we had this energy conversation tonight. But what's really important about energy, what they communicated tonight is important about energy, kind of is, but for me the important thing, even as a Delhi resident, is that we're seeing price increases significant due to data center subsidies and electric hogs. And that's a big problem. It's a big problem, and it's a big reason this is happening. And what did Ohio do? They're putting together a law to put together a commission to analyze it. And people make a case, great first step, people are hurting today. They're suffering today. It's not just that
Is
energy.
that from all your AI searches, you think?
Um,
I'm just kidding, by the way.
I do a lot of AI stuff. I can tell you I use AI for investing as well to an extent.
Do you
I do a lot of
really?
other stuff. Yeah, my brother put
Don't scare the
together.
hell out of me, bud.
My brother put together a system where he was getting gains like very few people I see. He's a smart guy too. But I had 3 accounts in the last year. One hit 100%, which is great. One hit 25% because it's conservative, which is not good. And one hit 40%, which was the highest of the benchmarks of NASDAQ.
Yeah.
So you combine those, I'm probably somewhere around, I don't know, 70% in a year. That's pretty good, and that's with AI input.
That's huge.
The thing with law and where I got wrong on this one, I think was my fault. AI, a big part of it, and they say learning how to use it and stuff, big part of it is asking the right questions. And
Yeah.
you got to ask it the questions from the other side a lot too. But yeah, I made that goof up, and I don't take back the actions I did because I think it's still a question of ethics. But with the adjustments y'all are making, it makes me feel good on the ethical front.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's you know, we look at everything and we make the determinations by looking at everything, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think we got a great community. I think, you know, we got good employees. Do they slip up here and there? Sure. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I just don't, you know, I don't look at things as, you know, as anti-government as you do sometimes. You know what I mean? I just don't. I tend to like to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're doing the right thing for the right reason, unless they prove me wrong.
Would you consider yourself a statist?
No.
Would you support the state though, kind of the state being the government?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, to a certain degree, but if I disagree with it, I'm not going to support it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, because it's a factual possibility to agree with everybody every time. You know, it's not going to happen. I mean, do people agree with all the decisions I make all the time that work for the police department? No. Should they? No. And it's okay.
Well, I don't think it's okay because government is the only entity I interact with that tells me I have a freedom of association while they use threats and or violence, whatever level is necessary to force me to associate with them. But like, I could not agree with everything Kroger says or does, but I might feel they're the best place to shop anyway, and I still shop there. But if I feel like, you know, I ain't gonna tolerate a Kroger manager calling me an a-hole when their security guard is treating me inappropriately by their own supervisor's terms, and they're saying that to the person that's escalating, I probably won't go back there again. I may try and bring it up to the higher ups, and they double down on it. This guy's representing, he's serving at their pleasure. When he says that and there's no dispute from the trustees, I interpret it as that they're on his side. Or they haven't said anything to contradict the message he's saying, which he's called me an asshole anytime he wants to say it to other employees. And if you tell me that remember, there's a relationship here. It's just like sexual assault. If a supervisor assaults a subordinate, that's a bigger issue than if they sexually assault a higher up in some context. And the sergeant's dealing with his boss's boss. That's the one who's telling him to kick someone off the property and that they're an a-hole. And he's doubling down on it, tripling down on it. And you think, and you know my reaction. And then on top of that, he's making accusations. He's predicting, just like the lawyer guy did. He's predicting what I'm going to do, contrary to what I told him I was going to do, based on his understanding of the past and stuff. I'm going to make public records. And he talks tonight like those public records are a problem. He almost talks like he wants the public to look down on me because of the expenses I'm costing them for my legal activity. I mean, he's not saying this is great stuff, This is what we told you to do for government accountability. Keep doing government accountability because we need that in this government because we fall short. We didn't know we were supposed to post ADA notices until you notified us of it, Rich. And the handicap thing, I can understand someone saying it's nitpicking. My defense for that is I think it's just as nitpicking when you pull me over for running through a stop sign when there's no pedestrians, no cars, no safety issue really anywhere around, and you pull me over. You have the right to do that. I think it's nitpicking. What's more nitpicking? You pull me over for running a stop sign, then smelling something and searching my car, finding nothing? Or me making a complaint that I think is legit, not because I just made it up. I went home, I researched it. And I did my quick research, but I tried to do honest research. I didn't say, give me the way that I can call this illegal. I'm like these guys are here, here's the situation, the whole situation. I type it out, and that's what I'm getting told back.
And nobody expects you to be.
This guy called it a bogus, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like it's a bogus handicap complaint. And I think you know, from me, especially the way I'm talking to you now, that wasn't bogus. Nitpicking? Maybe. Bogus? Bogus makes me think that I knew it wasn't a crime and I just wanted to complain for the purpose of complaining, but that's not the case. I thought it was a crime. I still think it may be at the federal level against ADA law. I don't care about that because I think that your all's adjustment is a righteous one. You leave a spot or two open, somebody comes through. I'd be surprised, and I can tell you, when y'all pulled me over for that stop sign, just like Dan Ryan said, we've been doing this for decades. Handicap's never been an issue. I'm not going to stand here and tell you I've been running that stop sign for years, decades. But I will tell you, it's never been an issue, right? It was never an issue for decades until y'all pulled me over that one time. I don't think I've had a registration been pulled over in my lifetime on a registration.
You're saying it's not a violation unless you get caught.
Well, we find that in law a lot. We find that in government. It's not a problem with the corruption until you all get caught with it. And I can tell you that was an escalation move tonight. My move tonight was a de-escalation move. I'm coming in, I'm thinking I'm feeling good, I'm feeling peaceful. I'm like, the handicap thing's gone. They don't even have to worry about me protesting next year unless something else comes up. It's de-escalated. Give me an apology. I think that's well deserved. All I wanted from her was, where do you stand? Do you still stand by him, knowing that a sergeant treated me that way based on lieutenant's feedback? Skylar Miller agitated the situation with his terminology, and then he came back and was that way again with me a second time, 2 times.
Well, I hope you appreciate it. They're not going to comment on employee stuff. They're not going to.
Well,
because they haven't seen it. They haven't,
That is an employee thing, though, is it, or is it?
For him?
Skylar Miller.
I mean, he's an employee, yes.
But I mean, they can't get involved in employee things legally, right?
No, they're not going to speak publicly about employee matters. They're not going to do it.
Even with this guy?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Okay. I thought this guy was a little different because, and even you and Doug, because you all serve at the pleasure of the board. The board makes the decision on the hiring of you all.
Sure.
But everybody else, they don't make the decision on. Well, I don't think, or maybe they do. Maybe sign the last final paperwork.
We got to pass a motion to hire somebody.
Okay, so they do ultimately make that decision.
Yeah. That's why you see on the.
But they have to be the ones logically to be accountable for Skylar, because if they're not accountable for him, who is? You know what I mean? Everybody has somebody they report to.
Sure.
And
everybody's got a boss.
It's the trustees. So when I'm bringing up a matter of public interest about a public servant, they should be able to respond to it.
But wouldn't you agree that if it's a personnel matter and they're going to address something, it goes back to what I just said before. I think if it's going to be addressed with somebody, like in our situation with my sergeant, right? I'm going to address it with them before I say anything about it.
Okay.
I'm just not going to say anything.
That makes some sense.
You know what I mean? It's a tough nut to crack because, I think it's that fundamental due process that we've got to work through the channels and in my situation with my person especially, right? It's we've got to work through that channels, because we got contractual stuff we got to deal with,
Well, that's part of the struggle for me. Is that I don't really think I get due process on this stuff.
You
I mean,
know,
I was punished without any. You know, when you kicked me off up here, I didn't really have a due process.
You know, I know. You know, Richie told me today that you and him had a good conversation. And, you know, it wasn't 3 hours like you and I talked last time.
Right on.
I felt shorted.
It's so much. I'm like 2 videos behind posting those videos updated. I'm like, I got to get it. I'm trying to do it sequentially. I'm like, I got to get it to where Lieutenant Meyer admits that y'all were breaking laws, so I can have that clip out. But I don't know if you saw my video. You probably don't. I don't think you watch my videos. But I got the part where he's calling me an a-hole in essence.
I don't do social media.
And then right back there, I snapped in, "F you too," from your police officer. It was, I mean, you got to give an accommodation to a guy when you got a clip of him that you can have him saying "F you too" to the township administrator for me, kind of, you know, through him.
Funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
No, but I just, you know, I mean, to me, it's life's too damn short, to be honest with you, to stress about, you know, some things. You know what I mean? It's just not. You know, I got a good life.